Welcome to this episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. I'm Aric.
And I'm Angie.
We are married with a ton of kids.
We have 6 kids total. He has 3 and I have 3.
My name's Hallie and I love riding horses.
I'm Lexi and I love agriculture.
My name's Carter and I love eating.
My name's Chase and I love lifting weights.
My name's Summer and I love spending my parents' money.
I'm Dane and I love baseball.
Our show is about our blended, blessed, and always a mess life. And our hope is if you find yourself in the same situation we are in, that by sharing our story, all the fun and all the mess, the challenges we are experiencing, it will give you some inspirations, laughs, and community, knowing you are not alone in this mess.
We appreciate you spending time with us. Let's dive in.
This episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess is sponsored by the children's book Feathers Matter. As our kids grow up, they face challenges in their life, and knowing their self-worth and their value is crucial to face the headwinds. Purchase this beautiful story to read to your kids and grandkids and start the conversation with them at a young age. They are worthy, they matter, and their feathers matter. You can find the link to order on our Blended, Blessed, AlwaysAMess.com page. Mention code #blessed for an autographed copy. Welcome to this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. And Angie's not here this week. She is on assignment, is what I'll say. She is working for the family, doing some things with some other ladies down at Hallie's house. And she's like, well, just do a podcast by herself. And I was like, no, not doing that. I've tried that, and people don't want to hear it. And she's like, no, it'll be good. I was like, no, we have stats. Like, you can see how many people listen to an episode each and every week. And when I did a solo one, not good. Okay. Angie does solo one through the roof. She's the star of the show, not me. So I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So even today, she's like, well, what are you going to do? Did you figure anything out? No, I didn't figure anything out. But in the back of my mind, all week long, I thought, well, worst case scenario, worst comes to worst.
My favorite kid, she's going to step up.
I'll instantly be able to reach out to the Miss Reliable Lexi Bremer. And we were chatting tonight, and she was like, yeah, sure, I'll come over and do a podcast with you, Dad. So here she is. Pop it in.
Oh, yeah.
Filling the role of Angie.
Nancy.
Oh, Nancy, as you would say. Yeah. Appreciate you coming by and visiting. And even Angie was like, well, what are you guys going to talk about? And I was like, don't even worry about it. Not your job. And you can't start crying before you even start.
Oh, it's just weird.
You're already crying before we start. It's because you've done the other ones with Hallie. Right? Yeah. I literally looked at her and she starts crying. I'm like, I haven't asked you a question yet.
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
Well, the last podcast I ever recorded was with Hallie, so.
Yeah. So.
Didn't even make it through a minute.
You didn't make it through the first thing you said. I mean, I didn't even get to ask you a question. You were going. Let me ask you this. I have always thought that whatever God decided he wanted to do with our two families, the crew, was so special and magical. And I think a part of that is exactly what he did with you and Hal. Because, yes, you were besties and best friends. But in just a short period of time, you became real sisters.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
We both would like to tell each other that, there was a reason that God put us in each other's lives, not only as sisters, but as friends. And maybe sometime over the next week or so, they'll share on Facebook or whatever. But her speech at the wedding always really gets me. She kind of segmented each step shit, like she liked to call them.
As she called everyone,
and
yes.
About like kind of what they meant to her. And so, whenever we first kind of met, we're at that age of 16, 17, 18, whatever it was. And you're at like a really big developmental part of your life as a girl. And you kind of long for someone who is similar to your age to kind of be there for you every step of the way. And that's kind of how it was with Hallie and I. And so that was just really special for years.
I remember that because, Angie and I always said, like, you each brought out something in the other one that you needed.
Right.
So, like, you reined her in a little bit.
I attempted. I don't know how well I did at that.
She made you step out of your comfort zone a little bit. And both of those things were needed. And together, it was great. I always loved to watch the two of you travel together.
Yeah.
Because you were so opposite.
I'm pretty sure I've told this story on one of our other podcasts, but the first time we ever did something separate on our own, everyone left for Alabama at like 2, 3 a.m. Hallie and I had to be up by like 5:30, 6. And of course, I'm like up, I'm ready, shower, and we're like getting everything together. We're like literally walking out the door. And she says, I can't find my ID. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I'm like, a passport, anything. And luckily she found her passport, but that was the end of that ID right there. It's time for a new one after that. So that's kind of just a gist of how we were different.
You were and still are incredibly organized, detail oriented.
Yes, I am.
Hal, which is funny because that's how Angie is.
Yeah.
Hal, a little more like your dad, fly by your seat of your pants. We'll figure it out as we go.
That's exactly how she was.
Does it drive you crazy? I know I do.
Yeah. Like, usually I would not. If you were like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Let's record a podcast. I'd be like, no. Like,
no, I've actually planned out my entire
It's definitely past my
evening.
bedtime right now. And it's like 8:30, so.
On a Friday, and you're a senior in college.
I'm not your typical college
What
kid.
are we doing? Absolutely.
I value my sleep a little too much.
Okay, so, you and Hal are super close. And this whole last 14 plus months has been incredibly difficult for everybody, right? At different levels. And I tell people all the time, for you girls, harder than the boys. And I think that's like just a natural thing, right? So for Ange, obviously that's like unreal level as a mom. Summer, it's been really hard because now she's in high school and needs her sister. And I always tell people, you try, and you do a good job, but it's different. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But then for you, I tell people all the time, like, I always felt like even though I just had a couple of years with Hal, we were super close and she was like a daughter to me. And it's been a really tough year because people are like, well, she wasn't really your daughter. And it's like, F you. Like, she was.
Right.
Yeah. So for you being kind of like we're the bonus people, right? What's that felt like for you and been like? Other than awful.
Other than it, other than it being awful, it is different because people don't look at your pain the same way, I don't think.
That's how I feel.
And while no, it's not exactly the same, it's still there and it's still valid and the feelings are still valid. But yeah, that's what I would say about it.
Just tough.
Yeah.
What do you think's been the worst part?
Well, I think segueing into that, like this year, we didn't know we would graduate together if she was still here. But I just had a really different college experience with losing Hallie halfway through it. I mean, college isn't fun. You're getting an education that's hard. And I basically decided one Tuesday night that, like, my schedule, let's just cram it all in and get it over with. So, like, I'm graduating in 3 years instead of 4. And come to find out, Hallie would be graduating at the exact same time.
I mean, it feels like it was almost like a healing mechanism for you. You just want to be done with it so you didn't have to think of it.
Well, even my academic advisor was like, it's okay. Like, you have not had a normal experience. And, like, she was one of my professors when Hallie passed. So, like, she was one of the people that was, like, kind of there for all of it. So she understands. And so, like, that has played a part in it of, like, we were supposed to do that together. And then I've said to Angie multiple times, like, while this isn't going to happen for a while, like, we're at that age where you think about, like, marriage and things down the road that, like, you would do with your sister and best friend. And that's just, like, not something that she's going to be there for, which is really hard. But I guess, I mean, I kind of left this out. Backtrack. We are going to do something. What?
That was a rewind, man.
Oh, yeah.
That was a sound effect.
We stay tuned in the future, though, because there is something pretty special coming with Hallie and I graduating at the same time. That's kind of in the works at the university. So stay tuned for that in May.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's just been super difficult and makes it even harder. So
yeah. What do you see in the crew that's different?
I would say the thing that's the most different is obviously, like, it's coming home is just different. Like, I've told my parents that, like, they've done nothing wrong. It's just weird. Basically, we come home for Hallie sometimes. Like, we were just here at the same time and shared a room and a bed. And so it was kind of like we were always here at the same time. And, like, she was, for the most part, always going to be here when I was here. So that part's weird. But then vacation is very odd. Whenever we were in Florida in early January, I forget, Chase Day, and somebody was like, it's just weird. And I'm like, I know. It's just always going to be like that for a while, and there's really nothing we could do about it besides make the most of the memories.
Yeah, I see that all the time because, like, she was the leader of the crew.
Yeah. And I can't, as much as I could try, I can't take over that role.
Yeah, it's not your job. And we don't, Angie and I don't want you to try to fill that role.
It's really hard to not, like, Angie and I have had that conversation, but I've kind of learned that, like, that's just not, I just can't.
Yeah. And so I get it. Like, I sit around and I look at our crew And it's like everybody's roles were really defined, and it flowed so well together. And then when you lose somebody that's so important, I mean, all of us are, but like Hallie in this mix, everyone's like searching and reaching and trying to figure out what they're supposed to do next. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's an interesting concept. And of course, there's no roadmap for it. None of us know what we're supposed to be doing in that regard.
I wish there was. We all wish there was.
All right. What are things that you are seeing that are different in your dad, your bonus mom, your siblings, things that maybe we don't see about ourselves even? Maybe things I shouldn't even ask you.
I don't want to answer that question.
That's the entire purpose of the podcast. It doesn't help people if you don't answer the question.
I just don't even know where to start.
No, I know it's deep. It's one of the reasons I put you on. This is the hard stuff. When Angie and I first started the podcast, she didn't want to answer the hard stuff because she's like, I don't know that people want to know that. And at the end of the day, it only helps people and not. We have so many moms listening that have lost a child and they have other kids. And so I think it's important that you go into the parts that suck. That's how you heal. And when I ask you what's different between your siblings, what's different between your dad, your bonus mom, what is it? We may not like the answer, but it also may be something we need to hear. And from a Christianity standpoint, Jesus is very clear that when you are in deep friendship and caring about someone else, when you share something in love that may not be comfortable, that's a good thing. Yeah. If you were doing it to be mean, that's not good.
Right.
But I know that's not the case. No. I've literally asked you, like, what are things you're seeing that are different? Maybe they aren't great. What is that? And
I wouldn't say they're like, it's anything bad, but it's just like kind of the normal that happens when you're grieving is like, you know, I'll start with Angie. So she still is a huge, she is a bonus mom to me. She's not a stepmom. I always tell people my mom's. And there's obviously like the definite changes of like, you can tell when she's down and whatnot. And so that's hard to watch because she was almost happy like 100% of the time beforehand, I would say. And so watching that, her pain and her struggle, and I don't know that this has actually ever been talked about on the podcast, but I was the first person to catch her from falling on the ground when they announced Hallie's time of death. And that just, I think, while I would never wish that ever happened, I think that it did bring us some sort of connection. Helps her to know that, like, I'm there. And while I'll never be able to replace Hallie, I will still be a part of the crew and home and as much as I can and that kind of stuff. So obviously I've seen the obvious changes in Angie, and it was totally kind of a side note, and then I see you who just is trying really hard to be there for her, but there's some that you can do, but it's just part of the season of life that we're in that like not a lot can be done. Like, you just kind of have to sit in the suck sometimes, and it really sucks. Sitting in the suck really sucks.
I'm not good at that, am I? I'm failing, aren't I?
Sitting in the suck. No, I wouldn't say that. It's just you're the man of the household, I guess, as you would call it, and so you're trying to be strong for everyone else, and you forget to be strong for yourself sometimes. I think is the best way to put it. But I think you're doing a great job. Angie would tell you the same thing.
Yeah, I've struggled.
Right, but so does everyone. And then with the kids, I guess I would say they're at that age where they're still so busy with sports that I don't see a whole lot of change besides like when I'm spending time with them individually and they're talking to me about it. So like with Carter, he, as Hallie would like to say, he likes to bury it deep down. So I don't...
It's not good. It's going to come back.
It's going to come back and it's going to bite him. And I don't see a lot of change with Carter besides he has to be the leader of the crew at home now, more prominently, I guess.
And while that's true, that's not an easy job for him.
No.
I've talked to him. Leadership, as a middle child, leadership is not his strong suit.
Correct.
He could be, but it's not. It doesn't come naturally.
No, it doesn't. But he's doing a great job. I can't point out significant changes in Carter because he's burying it deep down, which again is not healthy, but that's just how he is. It's more of a boy thing to do. And with the other kids, I kind of see not as many changes, like I said, besides when I do like sit individually with them, and I do my best to come home when I can and be with Summer because I know she misses Hallie a lot and is in that important part where she needs a sister. So I do my best, but I'll never be able to fill that role. And like I said, with Dane and Chase, they're boys, and this is a stereotypical thing, but they just kind of bury it down, and you don't see it as well out of them, like some of the changes in them.
I see it out of Chase, obviously, more than Carter and Dane, because that's his sister, right? You see it. And he is very deep, like Angie. Like when I think about, him and Angie are very similar.
Correct.
In a lot of things. And so he's got it deep, and you see that sometimes. And him and I have talked about it. But yeah, I didn't know what you had seen, because you and I we don't talk about that.
Right.
And I don't know if that's right or wrong. I think sometimes I really fail as a dad because I don't know what I'm supposed to ask you. I don't know what I'm supposed to ask you. I know that I ask you more questions than my dad asked me. Okay. But I don't know if I ask the right questions or enough questions or the deepest questions. No. And then when you live with Carter, like I do, it's like, don't ask any questions. Don't ask any questions. So, it is what it is. I'll be honest, Dane and Chase will both talk to me way more than Carter does. And I'll sit at the bar, the kitchen table, wherever with him, and try to have lots of
Carter Good.
Yeah. Great. Okay.
Every time I text him, "How's your day?" Good. Need anything? No. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. And so I'll be sitting here, and we'll have like a 5-minute. I'm like, "What did you get out of that?" Yeah. It sounded good. I'm like, "No, it didn't sound good. Tell me what you got. Like, what emotionally did you get?" Carter. But yet Dane and Chase, they'll give me like deep answers, and Chase gives me the deepest answers. Yes. He can go deep.
Yeah.
And so I do love that. I told, I'll go on the record for this. Chase wants to go to work at D-Rose. Oh. And so.
Best of the best right there.
His wrestling is getting ready to end up. And our family has a long history of working there, and Hallie included. Sister Lauren worked there for a long time, and Carter and David was kind of like.
I'm technically still employed there. Yeah. Shout out to David and Megan for keeping me on the schedule. But I have another job, so I just pick up when I can.
Yeah, I just said to him, I will tell you this much. Out of all 6 kids, Chase is probably the second best worker after Lexi. I said, Lexi, you got Lexi, and I think Chase is right behind him. And that's nothing against Carter or Hallie. It's just like Chase wants to work.
Yeah.
He wants to make that money. He is like, I am in. And Hallie and Carter are both good workers, but if there was something else going on, they were fine to go do something else.
Right.
And Chase is more like, I want to do it and make the money. Like he was shoveling snow the other day, and he wasn't stopping all day. He made a few $100 because he wasn't going to stop. And that's the kind of worker that he is. So that's all I mean by that. All of our kids are great workers. Everyone's just at a different level, right? But some kids want to go on there. They'll be working and be like, hey, I'm going to go party. That's fine. You're a teenager. I get it. But yeah. So anyway, hopefully Chase is going to be following in your footsteps soon at the row. Getting them smoked wings and doing all the things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what's he going to do? Host?
Well, that's all he can do at 15. So
that's fair. Yeah. You don't want to do any other stuff in the back.
But again, good looking kid. He's going to do just fine up there.
He'll be fine.
Yeah, they're going to love him.
He's very personable.
He really is, right? He's
fine.
A talker. Like I think that's why, like whenever he dates girls, the parents like him because he talks to them. I did that. I used to talk to the parents. If you talk to the parents, they love you. If you're a kid that doesn't talk to the parents hate you.
I think that's why Summer gets embarrassed by Chase sometimes, is because he just wants to talk. She's like, Chase, let's go. Come on.
I'm the same way. That's why I think him and I get along so well. It's like, we'll talk your ear off and we'll do all the things. Yeah. So, all right, I'm not going to make you stay here and be some long podcast since you're bailing Dad out. Okay. And I appreciate everything. What would be something you would love to see happen for the crew moving forward? Because as we have said, it's never going to be the same. It can't even be kind of like where you go into a house and you redo a kitchen. Like it's like a rebuild. So what is something that you think you would like to just see us either start to do that we haven't, or continue to do that you love that might just be beneficial for this family as a whole moving forward? Because ideally, we're still just, everyone's growing, graduating, eventually having marriages and grandkids, which will be hard because, Hallie should be the first at all those things. That's not the case.
Right.
But it should still happen. And so, how do you just see it and want it to go? And what's something that could happen that you think would be good? And
I would say that I look forward to continuing as a crew, just honoring Hallie and still going on vacations as a crew and, taking pictures of her with us and our bears and just continuing those traditions because she'll always continue to be a part of them.
I think it's important. We never, ever, ever, ever stop talking about her, forget anything about her, take her everywhere we go. I love, like, when we have birthday dinners, we take her a picture with us, sit on the table, all those things, for sure. All right, you are coming up on graduating yourself, as you mentioned earlier. What are you excited about? What would you hope that would occur in the next several months?
So, yes, I graduate in I'll walk in May of 24, but I'll still have 2 classes to take over the summer because I am rushing to get it over with. So I'll have some kind of like podunk little classes to get over with over the summer. But I'm currently interning in the communications department, employer communications department at Equipment Share. I have been there a year around May. I've had a lot of fun and learned a lot of great skills and new things throughout that. I think the current plan for right now is to weigh my options, but also I do really enjoy it there. My boss is really great and really wants to keep me, and I would love that. So I think there's a possibility that I'll start my career there and then kind of see where that takes me.
What I do know about you is that everywhere you've ever worked, people love you. And even like my boss loves you. I mean, everybody's like, oh, we'll hire Lexi because you're super good at anything you do, you're good at and you're reliable.
Yeah.
It's hard to find these days.
So I really like it at Equipment Share. I'm hopeful that that's where maybe I can start my career. If not, I know God has a plan. But other than that, over the summer, I'm hoping to do some traveling, spending some extra time at the lake.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, I'm going to Florida with one of my roommates in May, like literally 2 days after graduation. And then I'm sure we'll take a family vacay somewhere. Lots of time at the lake with my mom and stepdad and that side of the family. So that'll be good.
That's good. I have always been incredibly proud of you. I remember when you were a little baby, the way it worked was your mom had to get up at like 3, 4 a.m. to go to work. And so you spent a lot of time with your dad, more than most kids would. And so because she would have to go to bed super early and then she had to leave super early. So like I was the one putting you to bed. I was the one getting you up in the morning. And so we did all those things together. And I remember like the first time you ever like projectile vomited on me just repeatedly. And that was when I knew I was a dad because like I didn't even care that you vomited all over me. I just wanted to make sure you felt okay. I was like, oh my God, I hope she feels okay. Like, what do we do to make her feel better? I have vomit everywhere. I don't care, right? That's when you know you're a parent and you actually enjoy it. It's like, oh my God, I just want my child. And then that night I remember sleeping on the floor next to your crib all night because I didn't want you to choke on vomit if you puked again. And I'm sure there are parents listening right now that can relate to that scenario. And so I've just always been super proud of you. I don't care if you do everything right. If you make mistakes along the way, as your dad, I'm always going to love you. I'm always going to show up for you. I'm going to support you. And you show up for everybody around you. So you're really good at that. Like tonight, showing up for me because we didn't have a podcast if you didn't show up. So great job tonight. And, you know, I think you're in a really hard job because you were the oldest of your brothers. And then we met Angie and you didn't have to be. So for the first time in your life, you could just chill because Hallie had you, everybody. Hallie had all 6. Her plus you guys. And then you kind of settled into that. And then she is in heaven with Jesus. And now it's like, oh God, now you're like, I've got to kind of do some other things. I've got to step back into that when I kind of like, you probably kind of like not having to.
Well, and I still I think losing Hallie has taught me that I have to branch out and do things that I want to do and be me instead of doing what other people want me to do. So I still have kind of done what she had tried to incorporate into my life since she's passed and continue to do that. So
your absolute favorite memory or thing about Hallie?
Oh gosh.
I know it had to be cuddling in bed together.
No.
When you guys shared a bed together.
Hallie loved to cuddle with me. And that was just not my jam. There's lots of videos. I would say probably just our travel adventures.
I can always hear it. Lexi.
Did we fly by her? No. Everyone flew when we went to Florida the last time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was the time before that to Alabama. You guys flew by yourselves.
I would say when we went by ourselves. That was a lot of fun. Because we almost got kidnapped on the ride home. I know
you
this is
didn't
yes,
get
we
kidnapped.
Did.
You did not.
Yes, we did almost.
No, you didn't.
It got talked about in one of the previous podcasts.
Because you didn't get.
We almost did, and it was quite the adventure. Going there,
they didn't get
coming
kidnapped.
Home. There's lots of videos, lots of fun stuff.
I'm gonna find
back up,
the video and send it to Angie to share.
Which one?
From 2020 when you got your wisdom teeth out.
No.
And I'm driving you home. And is everybody there? And I'm like, almost Hallie's. Is Hallie there? Is Hallie going to be there? Yeah, she's on her way.
was
You're
really-
just bawling because you're on the laughing gas.
Well, and I see Angie's car, and so I know everyone's like waiting for me, and I'm like so touched by the fact that everyone is there.
Everyone's here. Hallie's here for me. Hallie can't. You got your wisdom teeth out. You didn't. This wasn't open heart surgery. Okay, Here's your wisdom teeth.
I really want everyone to be there to support me.
So
Okay.
we're gonna find that video. We're gonna share that video.
Okay,
It's
that's
gonna be
fine.
fantastic.
That's fine.
Love it.
Whatever.
So, all right, that is it for this week's episode of Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Lexi, we love you. We appreciate all that you do for me, for Ange, for the crew, everybody, and wish you the best over the next few months as you graduate from Mizzou and get into the real world where you are on your own. Don't ask me for any money.
I don't ask you for any money as it is.
No, okay.
You send me my doctor's bills already. So
Oh, yeah, they're over. Actually, you have 2 bills over there on the counter. So pick those up. Have a wonderful week, Alexis Bremer and everybody else, and God bless. Thank you for listening to Blended, Blessed, and Always a Mess. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and at blendedblessedalwaysamess.com.
Reach out to us on any of our social channels. We would love to hear from you. Have a great week.